The regularly scheduled public meeting of December 2nd, 2024 of the Township of Washington Township Council. Adequate notice of this meeting was given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by the Township Clerk to at least 2 newspapers in January, and this meeting has been posted on the Township Bulletin Board, the Electronic Message Board, WCTV, and on the Township website. Please notify the municipal clerk for any disability requirements necessary for attendance at mayor and council meetings. The fire exits are located through the double doors to your right and through the door to on your left. Please silence all cell phones. If you are unable to attend the council meetings in person and would like a topic to be addressed at a council meeting, please send email to the Township of Washington contact all council members at once, twpofwashington.us. Could everyone please stand for a salute to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Councilman Casio. Councilman Sears.
Here.
Councilman Ullman.
Here.
Councilwoman Velez.
Here.
Council President DeSena.
Here. Let the record reflect also in attendance Mayor Peter Calamari, Township Administrator Mark DiCarlo, Township Attorney Siobhan Bailey, and Township Clerk Susan Witkowski. Payment of bills. Resolution number 24-360. Authorized payment of bills November 13, 2024 to November 26, 2024. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I just had one question,
Sure.
which I forwarded earlier to Mr. DiCarlo regarding the state, the police accreditation, excuse me.
Yep, I'm ready to answer it, Council President.
Thank you, Mr. DiCarlo.
This is in regards to the costs associated with the Rogers Group and the New Jersey State Association of Chiefs of Police, which is on this evening's bill list. The question was, can I explain the cadence and amount of fees related to police accreditation? Are both of these charges expected annually? The simple answer is yes. Accreditation is a continuous, ongoing program that will take place every year towards reaccreditation, which is every 3 years. The Rogers Group provides the mandatory training that's outlined and required by police accreditation, and then the New Jersey State Association of Chiefs of Police actually awards accreditation. So every 3 years, there is a fee associated with the reaccreditation. The police department are paying it off in thirds. That's why on the bill, I think it was like $13.34. And then the Rogers Group is approximately $15,000 annually. And again, that's to provide the mandatory training to all police department members, as well as the maintenance of the standards. They assist them through the process. They provide policy updates, et cetera. So yes, that will be expected to be every year, and there will not be a transfer. The second one is, it seems we had just had the chief acknowledge the accreditation. Now we are paying for reaccreditation fee. Explain that. Additionally, and that's a line that's cited, appears to have been planned for at a much lower value, $3,000 versus $10,000. Do we have adequate funds in the line, or will we transfer? So there is no transfer. If you guys and girls remember back to the budget process, the police department actually asked for $15,000 in the police accreditation line. We funded it, the current line of $4,281, because I was able to offset it with the Bergen County JIF Safety Incentive Program of $10,719. So that's why the charges were split between the two lines. And hopefully that answers your questions.
So so you have to look at both lines in aggregate?
Yes, it won't be that way moving forward in 2025, because I won't have the safety incentive program to supplement the line. So that line will most likely be funded as just one line.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. DiCarlo, I had one quick question.
Yes.
The clay was broken out into 6 different line items, I'm assuming for the 6 different field locations. Is that how the clay was paid for?
Well, it was all from the same capital line.
But it was billed to each individual
Yes.
field?
So every time there was a delivery, we were billed.
Gotcha. Okay, I just want to make sure how we encumbered it. So it was
Yes.
encumbered by delivery at each field.
Yeah, so we did what was called a blanket
Okay.
purchase order, and then we make some payments through that, and that's what you saw.
Thank you.
Well,
Any other questions? Roll call?
Councilman Casio, Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Omen,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President DeSenza.
Yes. PSA for December 2nd, 2024. PSE&G is replacing existing electric and gas meters with new smart meters throughout the town as required by the BPU. Please be sure to respond to any letters requesting meter replacement. The project will be completed at the end of this month. Oh, wow, finally.
In November.
Please visit our website for further information. Town Hall elevator. The modernization has been completed. The elevator is operational. New Jersey is currently in a drought warning. Please visit newjerseydrought.org for drought and fire restriction updates. The Township of Washington has added the Recycling Coach app to our website on the Department of Public Works page. Please sign up for alerts and quickly learn how to properly dispose of different waste material. There is no debris bulk pickup for the remainder of the year and no special pickups. The DPW yard is closed on Tuesday to allow for full weeks of leaf removal. Also, the holiday recycling schedule. Christmas Day pickup on the Northwest-South Zone will not occur on Christmas Day. It will be held on Saturday. It will be picked up on Saturday, December 28th. New Year's Day, Wednesday, 1/1 on the Northeast Zone. The pickup day will change to Saturday, January 1st, 2025. Please visit the townshipofwashington.us for further information. Household recycling schedule. Christmas Day, I just said that. The township is seeking members for the Advisory Board of Health. If you are interested, please contact the mayor via email at mayor@twp@washington.us. The Township Council of the Township of Washington is hereby soliciting resumes and/or letters of interest, qualifications from township residents to be appointed to the zoning board. For the vacancy of 1 year, an alternate, and please visit the clerk's section of the website under the forms page for the application. The Kiwanis Club meets once it meets on the second Wednesday of the month. Please contact Ralph Paul Cardulli at 516-581-8319. Also, the Township Fire Department is holding their annual Christmas tree sale at Memorial Field. Please visit the fire department at Memorial Field to pick up your tree. Our next council meeting will be held on Monday, December 16th. Thank you. I guess the presentation, the grant writer is not here, Mr. Mayor, so we'll put that off, or are you ready?
sir, he's going to be a few minutes late. He hit traffic. If you don't mind, I'll go jump to my report.
Yeah,
and
we
can
can
go
jump
back.
in. Yeah, that's
If
fine.
that's okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, thank you. All right, good evening, everyone. This is my response from the township meeting of November 12th. There was no follow-ups to provide to any residents' concerns or questions. Council concerns and questions. Council requested an update regarding the Congressman Gottheimer fiscal year 2025 congressional spending request for the Musquabbsink Brook. An update provided by Cole Tohey, Legislative Director for Congressman Gottheimer, indicated that the project has been approved for funding and inserted into the fiscal year 2025 federal budget. The township is awaiting official notification of the award along with additional instructions. I did have, do you know if Councilman Casio is coming?
He's traveling today, so he may be here depending on when it's.
Okay, I did have another update that came in since I authored this letter. However, if you remember at the last council meeting, specifically Mr. Casio, in regards to the project that we wanted to do on Carriage Court, asked us to check if we can, come up with a definitive determination if it's township property or not. So I was able to meet with Paul Azzolina, engineer. He said that researching the deed wouldn't do us any good, so he did provide us with the file map for the construction over there. On the file map, it has, I think it's 5 or 6 permanent marble indicators that give us the markers to measure from. The right-of-way for the township is 50 feet, and moving in a western direction, it's 15 feet from the curb line, the western curb line on Carriage Court, and that's where the proposed project would be. Mr. Sears and I drove by there again to make that measurement.
So it's outside the right of way.
It's inside. Where we want to do the project is within the right-of-way of the township. So it's either our property via right-of-way, or it's the Turnpike Authority, which the Turnpike Authority is not going to make any improvements. So again, just to remind everybody, what we wanted to do is remove the dangerous trees that were identified by Mr. Omarosa as potentially falling, and then put in just a few trees to help keep the soil intact over our stormwater drain. So
Can we review that after the meeting?
Yeah.
Thank you.
absolutely. So as far as moving forward with that project, how do we, I mean, I can certainly review it, Mr. Councilman Cassie.
Yeah, let's wait till, yeah.
Okay, sure. All right, just to move, continue on with my updates. Gardner Field Playground Equipment Project has been completed. Appraisal Systems is completing the necessary preparation work in order to begin the revaluation process. As a reminder, all field inspectors will have a fresh background check. An introduction letter from Appraisal Systems will be sent to the residents. I will send a copy of the letter to the mayor and council.
Do we know what
prior
date
to
that'll
the-
actually start, Mr. DeCarlo?
I don't. They're authoring the letter and getting all the logistics in place for that to happen. But the mechanism moving forward to the inspection will be the letter.
But I'm saying, is it a month away? Is it like in
I'm going to say
January? Is it
within a month,
February?
but that's just a fair guess.
But I'm saying, but the physical inspections of the homes will start
I
early
believe it's
next
going to
year.
start in January, yeah.
Okay.
All right,
And
but
do we
like
know
I
how,
said,
are we doing it by voting districts or how are we doing it?
I don't know yet, but I will make sure that mayor and council gets those letters before they're sent out to the residents.
And could you just let us know which
Yeah.
zone they plan on starting at, please?
Yep, and I have additional information to go over, basically requested information from Councilman Ullman. Mayor, if you could take one and pass it down, please. There's one for everybody. The first was a question regarding leaf pickup. During the week of November 18th, 2024, administration communicated with our residents by providing brief information about the leaf pickup program and our struggles to keep up with this season's leaf pickup. The administration acknowledges the frustration of our residents over the last few weeks and understands that residents were upset with the time it was taking for removal of the leaves. I don't like to offer excuses. However, I would like to take some time to offer an explanation and some information on the township's leaf pickup program. Most importantly, the delay in removing leaf piles has nothing to do with the lack of effort, performance, or dedication of our DPW employees. They have been doing an excellent job in all tasks performed by them. Leaf season basically runs from the end of October to the end of December, and then is followed up by a street sweeping. During this time frame, DPW employees are not permitted time off other than sick time usage. The DPW employees are working overtime hours every workday, Saturday, holidays, and even some Sundays. Even though the overtime is not mandatory, most employees are working almost every day of the week with no time off permitted during the week, oftentimes coming in early and working through breaks and lunch. There are 3 zones in the township for leaf pickup. Unfortunately, some residents are going to live on the streets that are last to be picked up during the zone rotation. Even with zone pickup, DPW will do the areas immediately surrounding the schools and high-volume roads more often. In addition to leaf pickup, which is an all-hands-on-deck approach, DPW employees have other responsibilities to tend to, such as the parks, park facilities, holiday decorations, township buildings, Saturday debris drop-off, the senior van, etc. Sometimes unexpected situations arise that draw DPW manpower as well. This year, due to the drought, leaves fell at an accelerated rate, causing larger leaf piles at the beginning of the leaf season. Obviously, this was unexpected and contributed to falling behind. Additionally, DPW employees dealt with vehicle and equipment failure during the first few weeks. Both situations led to DPW falling behind only 1 week with leaf pickup. The township would periodically disseminate updates through social media on our progress. However, I should have taken a more proactive approach in the beginning of leaf season to convey to the residents why we were falling behind. The township has 5 garbage trucks and 3 front loaders that are used to perform leaf pickup. In early fall, 1 garbage truck needed engine service, and the parts on back order, therefore still unavailable, with an unknown return date. During the last month, DPW has been fluctuating between having 3 or 4 garbage trucks operating due to mechanical failure of some sort. As I read this today, we have, and scratch out 4, 3 garbage trucks operating as of this morning. So at the time I authored this last week, we had 4. This morning, one of the funnel mechanisms on the back of the truck is becoming unwelded. So they'll use the truck for the debris in the yard. However, it won't be able to use. So we're down now to 3 garbage trucks. We're getting a quote to hopefully have that fixed immediately. This is significant because once the garbage truck is full, a driver takes the leaves to Totowa to environmental renewal. The township no longer uses Sherry Field as a staging area for the leaves. This stagnates a crew each time. Each pickup crew needs a garbage truck, front loader, and laborers. During the first week, a front loader needed repairs. At this point, we are back up to having 3 operational loaders. DPW has 10 full-time employees. This includes the DPW superintendent. There are currently 5 seasonal employees. They are only permitted to work 29 hours per week. When fully operational, there are 3 leaf pickup crews. Each crew requires 2 CDL drivers and 1 laborer. There's 1 leaf vac crew, which consists of 2 DPW employees. Some reminders for the residents. The last day to pile your leaves at the curb is December 8th. For those residents that were waiting to put leaves out so the piles wouldn't become extremely large, some leeway will be given. Leaf pile pickup will continue till the leaves are picked up. If residents see landscapers dumping leaves from a location other than your own property, please notify the police. This is prohibited. Please also remember not to pile leaves on storm drains or in waterways. Thank you for your understanding and cooperation.
So, Mr. DiCarlo, thank you for your synopsis there. Appreciate it. I had placed on the conference agenda, to discuss leaves tonight, leaf pickup tonight. I know Councilman Casio had asked to put it on there also. Is there any way I think looking at it for next year, can we figure out how to put the leaves back? Because I think we have 2 big issues since we've stopped using Sherry Fields. We're putting thousands and thousands of miles on these garbage trucks that are unwarranted going back and forth to Totowa, which we never did before because we had another company picking all the leaves up at Sherry. I know it beats the crap out of the gravel parking lot at Sherry, but it speeds things up when they could just pull up to Sherry, dump, and then get right back picking up our leaves. So in the interim, I'm kind of calling this leaf-ageddon. Can we suspend going to Totowa and just dump them at Sherry just to get the streets cleared? Because, they're talking about possible snow Wednesday and Thursday. Not a big clipper, but there is a clipper coming, which is going to make it a disaster if we have to plow because all these leaves are going to get plowed, onto people's lawns and stuff. So is it possible that, and then for next year, can we look at what permits we need from DEP to dump the leaves at Sherry and go back to the old system? Because this system, our town, we just don't have enough. And the DPW is doing a great job when they are able to pick up the leaves. It's just adding that, 2.5 hour round trip to Totowa every time the truck is full kills us. I mean, because in the past, they would just drive down to Sherry, open up the back of the garbage truck, dump it out in 15 minutes and be back up and running. Now it's, each truck is gone for 2.5 hours round trip and it's really hindering our pickups. So can we look at, putting it back at Sherry? I know there was, it was a great idea to get rid of it going to Sherry, but I think it's a disaster. I know Councilman Sears, in the last, since I asked you at the League of Municipalities, can we call an emergency and just dump at Sherry? If I've gotten 50, I think I've gotten more than 50 calls, emails, texts from people saying, what is going on? And, I keep referring them to the mayor and you. Sorry about that, but it's your department. But if we could figure out, if we could go back to Sherry and maybe just for the next few weeks, just dump everything at Sherry and then deal with it, loading the garbage trucks up later and taking them to Totowa, because there's still a lot of streets that are in bad shape. And again, this is not on the DPW. They're doing as much as they can. But when that truck is gone for 2.5 hours, there's nothing they could do because, they could make piles, but it doesn't help. The piles make it sometimes even more dangerous because now instead of having all small piles, you have this massive pile in front of somebody's house, which you can't see forward or behind. So I don't know, Mr. Mayor, is that something we can look at? Maybe just dumping them at Sherry as an emergency and then, dealing with it later on because the streets are in bad shape.
Well, from what I've been told, obviously the first pickup at the rate the leaves fell, that slowed DPW down also. But since a lot of them fell early in the season, What I'm being told is the piles that they're dealing with now are much less now that they've started the second pass throughout the town.
Okay.
And so they expect to be caught up. That's not something I want to do on a quick basis. I understand the snow, but what I saw this evening before I came here, they're expecting maybe 0.2 to 3 inch.
Okay, that's
So I don't
even
think
better.
I don't think that'll be so bad. Obviously, Mother Nature throws us curveballs from time to time, and we are working on things next year. We had a meeting last Monday to review things, and there's always room for improvement on things. So we have some things that we'd like to execute next year. So I would just ask the residents to be patient. Again, as Mr. DiCarlo said, we are only a week behind. I want to say happily, we've spoiled our residents in prior years with very good that we were able to operate ahead of the schedule. And so considering the volume of leaves that fell and they're only a week behind with some of the equipment failures, I think we're still doing good.
Is Totowa the closest leaf drop-off? Could we maybe investigate a closer location?
I don't recall if it's the closest. It's the one where we've been using for years, but that's certainly something we can look at for next year also. Yeah, and also, I'm sorry, one of the things that came up, we're also going to look into maybe other properties in the area to see if we can use them as staging areas instead of Sherry Field. Because that had its issues, as you said, Mike, with the parking lot and the gravel nature of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
But I
active.
think, like the last year we did Sherry and what the company did afterward that year, like replenishing the parking lot, like
Right.
instead of leaving the divots with all that would fill up with water and had, I think that worked out great, but that was, I guess a cost to us to do that, but just.
Is, I don't know if it's actually Northvale. I've passed it a number of times going up to Northvale, and it appears they have a large yard where they dump their leaves. Would that be something we would consider, seeing if another municipality has the ability to take that on?
Yeah, that's what I meant when I said we'll look at other properties,
Okay.
other municipalities
Okay.
also. And Councilman Sears had mentioned to us that, once he mentioned it, I vaguely recalled that Ridgewood has a machine that grinds the leaves.
Yeah, they have a
And so-
tub grinder.
Yeah, and so we're going to also reach out to them to see what we can do with them, because obviously that's a much better commute than even, what'd you say, Northvale?
I think Northvale.
Yeah, would be. So we're going to look into that also for next year to see if they want to put their machine to more use and maybe recoup some of their investment on it.
And just one other question, or two really. The 5 seasonals, was that the requested amount? Is that full, or are we still having trouble hiring?
We generally shoot for around 5, but because of the limited amount of hours they can work, it's not like you're always going to have them. There'll be some overlap. We generally advertise towards the end of May, figuring we're going to get college kids, and then we'll do it again at the end of the summer when the college kids go back. So during the summer, we were lucky to maybe have 6 or 7 at a time. But again, they're only working 29 hours. So right now, I think it's great that we have 5. Can we use another one? Sure, but with the limited amount of crews, because the garbage trucks,
Okay, and that's the second question. So I don't know if it was a police truck or a DPW vehicle, but one of them was sidelined for like a year. Was it sidelined for a year, or we couldn't pick
Yeah,
it up?
the one that was at the dealer?
Yes.
Yeah, it
So
was waiting on parts.
although, we have an unknown return date for one of the garbage trucks, do we think it's like weeks away, or is this going to be another?
Well, what's funny is not that our superintendent didn't believe what they were being told, but they called another, contractor to confirm that, yes, similar parts are on back order. So I don't have a date, but we're hounding. And the pickup, it was a pickup truck, like a plow and a salter. That was, we were waiting to come back for over the year. But we do have that back.
And I would agree with the mayor, just that, the last few years, it seems leaves and snow, nothing gets people's, their ability to speak up than issues with leaves and snow.
Transportation.
And the leaves have been, the last few years have been, excellent in my opinion. And this is, a small step back. Hopefully we can get these trucks going and maybe figure out something to cut that turn time. But, I think tends to be a successful program historically. So
I know,
hopefully it
I
continues.
don't, Mayor, do you remember the name of the town that we spoke to the superintendent about? It was closer in proximity, but essentially the same amount of time because of traffic lights.
Oh, yeah. I don't recall the name of the town, but
Yeah.
because anytime you're traveling local roads in Bergen County, you eat up that hour and a half that it takes to go to Totowa.
Yes.
Anyway.
If we're okay to move on, Council President,
Yes.
the next group in your package should be regarding the repair to the ESB. Starts off, Mr. DiCarlo, the question is, at our recent council meeting, a bill was presented for repair to the ESB. You advised this was a repair to an overhead door due to one of the truck doors opening and striking it. The noted charge did not include the repair to the truck, which went through insurance. Can you provide a copy of the quote for the truck repair as well as the final invoice? Additionally, if the township went through insurance for the truck repair, why would we include the damage to the ESB? I imagine that's probably a typo, and you meant, why wouldn't we? To ESB the claim. Lastly, I assume we have a deductible on the repair claim. Has that been paid, and where on the bill list has it been included, as I don't recall it? If you flip the pages, I provided pictures for you for the damage. This is regarding the ESB and fire truck repair. On July 29, 2024, a volunteer fireman was responding to an emergency. While exiting the garage bay of the firehouse in a fire truck, the rear passenger side compartment door swung out, striking the metal garage door track in garage bay number 2. There was damage to the fire truck compartment door and the garage door track, as you can see in the pictures. The next page is the damage to the track. The damage to the garage track was completed by Lombardi and cost $1,030. Insurance paid for that expense. See copies of both proposal and check from the insurance company, which are the following 2 pages. The insurance company approved the expense of $8,433.36 for the repair to the fire truck. The township's deductible is $2,500. See copies of the insurance claim. The insurance company paid to Valtech, Inc. directly $5,933.36. Purchase order number 24-00902 was created to pay Valtech, Inc. our share of the deductible of $2,500. Please see copies of the purchase order. This expense was on the November 12, 2024 bill list. If you go through, you'll see the proposal from Lombardi. You'll see a copy of the check from Qualinx for $1,030. You'll then have numerous pages of the insurance claim. You'll then have a copy of the purchase order Mr. Ullman asked for, as well as where it came from, and also the bill list indicating on the first line that Valtech was paid $2,500 by the township.
Just going back to the image with the damaged, the track, damaged door track, and the comment below that insurance paid for that expense. And I thought this came up because, or the question came up because I thought we paid for the damaged door, or no?
No, I don't remember, but both expenses were on the same bill list. So I'm not sure why the question came up. I don't remember. But as you can see, we submitted the all damage to the truck and the building to the insurance. And we just had to pay the $2,500 of the total of the door repair and the truck repair.
Mr. DiCarlo, on one of the pages, there's an invoice from a insurance claim service group.
I'm sorry, hold on a second. I believe what you saw was we probably paid Lombardi directly.
And that was
I think that's what you saw, Mr. Ullman, is the township paid Lombardi directly, and the copy of the check from Qualix is reimbursing us. So the insurance company wrote it to us. We couldn't just sign it over. We had to go through the purchase order. And then, Mr. DeSena, your question?
There's a $350 invoice from Insurance Claim Service Group.
That's paid by the insurance company.
Okay, that's not done by our JIF adjuster?
It is, but we don't pay that. Our
Okay.
insurance company pays
All right,
that.
no problem. Thank you. Any other questions on this, Mr. Ullman? Anybody else on the day? Thank you.
The next one in line should be expenditures to date on the swim club.
Yep.
Mr. Ullman's question is, good morning, the property has been purchased and the township will be redeveloping it. I believe it is important to track expenditures to ensure complete cost transparency. Can you please provide the grant amounts received to date for the swim club property and any grants that have been applied for but not approved to date, i.e. in progress? Note the in progress is more for county open space type grants, acquisition, redevelopment, not grants from DEP or other sources for potential cleanup. Additionally, can you provide expenditures to date on property, acquisition, engineering, testing, and ongoing maintenances? Go to the next page, swim club grants and expenses. Ordinance 22-01 appropriated $800,000 for the purchase of the swim club property. The swim club was purchased for $750,000. Approximate soft costs for the purchase were $38,000. Township received a Bergen County open space grant reimbursement after the purchase for $438,750. Council approved the creation of a capital account with these funds towards the future development of the property. Grants received, 2022 Bergen County Open Space Park Acquisition Grant in the amount of $438,750. Number 2, New Jersey Division Community Affairs Local Recreation Improvement Grant 2023 in the amount of $51,000. 2023 Bergen County Park Improvement Grant in the amount of $60,111. Applied for in progress, 2024 Bergen County Park Improvement Grant awaiting an award announcement. And even though you wanted me to exclude, I thought it was important to mention we are applying for the New Jersey DEP HDSRF grant, the amount unknown. Expenses, extremely difficult to place an amount associated with DPW-related maintenance over the years. We do not pay for any outside contractors at this time for maintenance. I'm unsure what may have been paid to our municipal attorney for the work related to the acquisition of land, but that was municipal attorney Ken Pollard at the time. Engineer expenses for Boswell Engineering preliminary assessment and remediation investigation is currently happening, $78,000. New Jersey DEP HDSRF grant application, $7,500. Pre-demolition environmental study, $13,650. Swim club boundary and topography survey, $19,000. Approximately $6,403.75 in general engineering services for designs, meetings, presentations, and environmental expenses for Lisco Environmental, $15,986. There may be other expenses associated with this property that I'm unaware of. This list of grants expenses is the best of my ability based on going back in time on a project I was not here when initiated.
Does this include the work that the rec group did for the sort of the Great Lawn?
Yes, well, when I put in there number 5, approximately $6,403.75 in general engineering, designs, meetings, and presentations, yes, that's included in there.
Okay, thank you.
The next topic was the utilization of ARPA funds. Good morning. According to the 2023 audit report, the township received $960,438 in ARPA funds through 12/31/22. Can you please provide a detailed breakdown of how the funds were utilized to date? Please let me know if you have any questions. Township of Washington ARPA monies received were $960,438.66. July 2nd, 2021, Township received $480,219.33. First payment via wire. On July 8th, 2022, we received $480,219.33 second payment via wire. Utilization of ARPA funds. Again, this is the best of my ability going back in time for one night before I was here, but I'm pretty sure we accounted for right down to the penny with the expenses. In 2021, there was no expenses. In 2022, we utilized $516,430. $226,000 was introduced into the budget through revenue, and it was offset of police and salary wages. $240,430 of ARPA CCTV. This was used for door access system and camera systems at the parks, also for accreditation in the police department for all their door access systems as well. And then $50,000 in ARPA stormwater, Boswell Engineering, the Musquaxing Brook. In 2023, we used $300,000. $120,000 again was introduced into revenue of the budget, was to offset the salary and wages for police. $180,000 in ARPA general acquisition, fire department rescue boat, Office of Emergency Management message board, Office of Emergency Management light tower, Prime Point payroll system, township roof, fair housing litigation, ambulance study, Motorola, and computers. Currently, we have about $3,500 left in ARPA that has to be used by the end of the year, and the intent is to we are meeting with our IT Authorinet tomorrow to identify how many and what computers will have to be replaced in 2025. So to get a head start on it and to save money in the 2025 budgeting process, the mayor has approved the expenditure of $3,500 to get a head start on computers. In 2024, the last segment of $144,008 was introduced into revenue in the budget process to offset salary and wages for the police department. Total disbursements of $960,438.
So the salary and wages for police, those monies, or that expense base is going to continue. The police are going to continue to get paid, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So when we use this as a revenue offset, basically we're using this to pay current salary and wages. Is
Yeah.
that a fair statement?
Yes.
Okay.
So that represents a $144,000 shortfall for 2025.
Yes.
Yes.
Which I did advise council with as to many of the grants that we utilize to offset and to supplement budgeting toward 2024 will not be there for 2025.
Just one question, and not, because I'm sure you don't have the answer now, but when we did an entry, or we approved a bill list back in, back in late September, there was like a $20,000 to move funds to capital improvement. Is that part of this, one of these numbers, or it was ARPA general acquisition of equipment and programs was the account description?
If I'm remembering correctly, I had advised council that there was unspent monies for ARPA that had to be spent by the end of the year.
Correct.
And what we were doing is, it was in a current line from last year that was unexpended. So we had to create a general ledger, and we had to create a general ledger account. So what you're referring to is we had to make a purchase order to pay ourselves that $20,000 so we can get it from the 23 budget into a general ledger account so we can utilize it. So that's what you were talking about. And that 20,000 basically was dedicated to the fair housing litigation.
Okay. Okay, the only thing I would say is, and I don't think hopefully we won't get another $1 million windfall, because the reason we got it, brought the world to its knees, but I would think that we would try to do it more for one-time expenses or capital programs, as opposed to applying it to salary and wages or current funds, only because at some point it runs out and you do have that gap that you have to close. So I don't know when we're going to get another chunk of funds like that, but if it's something we can consider as we put together a spending plan for that.
Final question, I believe, should be in regards to the $1 million proceeds from the sale of the school, bond ordinance 1917. Question for Mr. Ullman. It would be appreciated if you or Mr. Corcoran could walk me through the funds dedicated to the DPW building and bond ordinance 1917. Briefly, the township was the beneficiary when a Board of Education property grade school located in Westwood was sold back in the 80s or 90s. Not aware of the actual amount realized, but the township maintained a reserve balance of $1 million for a number of years. 2019, the council passed a bond ordinance for $4.3 million. In that ordinance, Section 3, Part D, that $1 million was dedicated to DPW rebuild. 2019 audit report exhibits 8-23 and C-4 caption a move from reserve to capital. Fast forward to today, in attempting to find the $1 million in the capital section of the audit report, basically what account is it in and where can I locate it in the audit report. Sale of the Board of Education property grade school located in Westwood, sale of the school. I did a brief search on the internet and could not find anything on the sale of the school or the date. I did not check microfiche, as it was stated it was back in the 80s or 90s. So I don't know where the school was or how much we sold it for. I'm taking everybody's word for it that it was $1 million. The money was placed in a general ledger reserve account accruing interest, unknown time. Again, I don't know when it was created. On December 13th of 2019, $1 million was used to create a capital account titled Ordinance 19-17 DMF Building. Ordinance 19-17 authorized $1.3 million to fund this capital account, with $1 million funded from this reserve. At the time of the $1 million transfer, it left $67,614.25 in the reserve account. As of November 2024, the reserve account accrued to $86,339.06. Capital account at this time maintains, the capital account at this time maintains $1,047,599. I provided a detailed report of expenditures. The information pertaining to Ordinance 19-17 can be found on page 76 and 78 of the audit. So assuming that the sale was $1 million, with interest, it grew to $1,067,614.25 when the $1 million was transferred out, leaving that $67,614. And then as of the date of this report, it has grown to $86,000 and remains in the reserve account. So if you go to the very next page, this is the general ledger from 2019. If you go to December 13th, on the second page, you'll see that $1 million was moved out of that line. On the following page, you then see the same reserve account, but as of 2024, you see the balance of $86,339.06. You then have the following pages, which is a copy of Ordinance 1917. Just accounts for the $1 million. It was actually approved for 1.3. If you go to subsection D or paragraph D, 1.3 of that was funded with $1 million. And then if you go to the following, right after that, you're going to see capital ordinance, and it's named 19-17 DMF building, the amounts that it started with, and the expenses that have been charged to it, and the balance of $1,047,599. Again, most of those fees were environmental with LISCO, which was a significant amount for the soil testing, which was, I think, if I remember again, don't quote me, but I think the contract was $116,000. We're not done with that work. That is ongoing at this time. And the other expenses from DPW were before my time. And then the following 2 pages are copies of the audit pages where you'll see that. So if you go to 1917, there's improvements. Balance of December 31st, 2022. And then if you go to the following page, I believe this is 1917, various improvements. It's reflected there. So it categorizes them generally, not specifically. So it groups the ordinances together. So if 19-17 has several capital lines that were created under that ordinance, the audit groups it as ordinance 1917. It doesn't list them specifically and individually.
The one question I have then is on page 78, we're showing it as unfunded, the 1396. But isn't that,
Well, remember that the ordinance 1917 was for like $4 million. Right?
understood?
3 million, yeah, for,
Yeah, but you have,
so the unfunded amount from that bond ordinance is that number you just read. So it says bond ordinance appropriating $4,288,350 and authorizing the issuance of $3 million in bonds or notes. So it accounts for that $1 million. It probably also accounts for the down payment that we have to do for capital improvement.
yeah, but on the second to last page, it's saying the unexpended improvement authorization is $1,396,000. So do we have that money or do we not have that money?
Well, again, that was as of December 31st, 2022. This was the 23 audit, right? And then if you go to the far column, has that amount. So we have to look at the expenses in that ordinance altogether. So what I'm telling you, I can confirm sitting here, is that we have a capital ordinance at the time I printed it out with $1,047,599 as of November 26th, with money dedicated for the sole purpose of the they call it the DMF building.
Yeah.
There's
they're all
actually a
saying-
second capital line for the DMF building. Again, don't quote me, but I know it has over $1 million in it. But this account is specific to what Mr. Ullman's question was in ordinance 1970.
So, so first, thanks for the extreme detail. I'll take a look at it.
I guess Mr. DiPaolo, my question is, can we ask Mr. Corcoran, is there $1 million sitting in 1917 funded available to be spent on the DPW building?
Yes, there is.
It's sitting in the bank right now, or we have to borrow that amount?
We do not have to borrow, it's funded because
The
it's funded with
$1,096,000.
money on hand. Yes.
Okay, all right. Any other questions? Does that end your report, Mr. DiPaolo?
Yes, I'm going
Thank
to take
you.
a nap.
Thank you.
It was very detailed. Thank you, Mr. DeCarlo.
Peter? Mr. Mayor?
Well, since David came, do you want to jump to his or you want me to keep going?
Just keep going.
Oh, okay.
Dave, I'll have to, sorry, you have to sit here for a few seconds.
Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone had a happy Thanksgiving. Recreation news. The basketball program has 345 registrants this year. That is 27 more participants than last year. I'm glad these programs continue their upward trend on enrollments. The lacrosse program held a free clinic on Sunday, November 10th. They had a great turnout for the event. The clinic attracted over 40 potential new registrants to the program. The 2024 Introduction to Cheer program wrapped up their program with an end-of-program year party. The children all had a great time. Again, I would like to thank all the dedicated volunteers who step up to make these programs the success that they are. These and many other programs would not take place without them. The Borough of Westwood and the Township of Washington Recreation Departments have formed a joint venture to create a year-round program called SNAP for children and young adults with special needs. The goal is to provide positive recreational and social experiences for all our participants. The program is open to any child ages 7 through young adult who has a physical or learning disability. Please visit the town website for more details about this program. Please also follow TWP of Washington, New Jersey, 07676, Recreation, Parks, and Public Affairs Facebook page for updates. I communicated with Mayor Arroyo from Westwood regarding the surcharge to our residents participating in their programs. Unfortunately, they are not going to remove the fee at this time. They point to administrative and insurance costs that are funded by Westwood taxpayers, even for the programs that take place in our shared school system. They also point to the lack of available fields in Washington Township compared to Westwood. Football has worked out a waiver of the surcharge based on parity of field use by both towns. Westwood covers the fee we can charge their participants for the lacrosse program run by the township. If we can do something to offer more field availability, like what has been done with football, they will consider revisiting the topic. Police Department news. Officers participated in the readathon at Jesse F. George School. The department was on standby for Election Day. Fortunately, there were no issues that required their attention. Sorry, did you want to say something?
No.
Oh, okay. The command staff conducted both a corporal promotion selection process and a special officer hiring selection process. Fire Department news. For the month of November, the department responded to multiple fire alarm calls, a few odors of gas, 2 smoke condition calls due to cooking, and 1 reported car fire on the parkway, which turned out to be false. The department handled 2 significant calls in November. The first one on November 6th was a brush fire in the wooded area behind the high school. Paramus and Westwood fire departments were called in for mutual aid, and the fire was quickly extinguished. An approximate 100 by 60-foot area burned. The cause of the fire is unknown at this time. 1 firefighter was checked out by the Washington Township Volunteer Ambulance Corps for a minor injury and was released. The other call had the department dispatched around 4 a.m. on November 9th for a vehicle that came off the Garden State Parkway exit 168 ramp, crossing Washington Avenue, and crashed into the guardrail before falling into the ravine below. The vehicle was checked for any fluid leaks, and the department remained on the scene until the vehicle was safely removed. Both occupants of the vehicle were treated at the scene for minor scratches. The department held its annual elections for the 2025 Board of Fire Officers. They are Chief Zach Myros, Deputy Chief Frank Aiello, Battalion Chief Christopher Campo, Captain Christopher Mayer, First Lieutenant Ty Stutzer, Second Lieutenant Keith Mahoney, Third Lieutenant Scott Meyer, and Fourth Lieutenant Tim Meyer. I thank these people for stepping up and taking on additional responsibilities by serving in these important positions. The department has received their delivery of Christmas trees and are now open for sales. They appreciate the town allowing them to use the pavilion at Memorial Field, and they want to thank everyone for supporting this fundraiser. Please give them your support. Finally, the department will be bringing Santa Claus to the tree lighting event on December 6th, as well as around town Saturday and Sunday, December 21st and 22nd, starting approximately 4 p.m. DPW news. Salters are being installed on the appropriate vehicles. Holiday banners have been placed on the telephone poles. Leaf collection officially began November 4th. The department completed the first pass of all the zones last week, 1 week behind schedule, due to the unprecedented lack of rainfall that affected when leaves fell and equipment issues. The members of the department spend a lot of time during October making sure the equipment is ready, but failures inevitably occur in the field. I would like to remind residents some of the details that are in the calendars that were mailed to everyone at the beginning of this year, especially because they will only be printed in limited quantities next year and will not be mailed. Avoid placing leaves on top of storm drains and keep piles clear of litter, branches, and other debris. Debris slows the process down for the crews and leads to equipment failures. Plastic bags are not acceptable. However, biodegradable bags are permitted. Crews work from west to east in each zone. A second pass of each zone will begin after the completion of the first collection. Leaves and other yard debris may be brought to the DPW yard on Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. However, leaves being brought to the DPW yard must be in barrels or biodegradable bags only. Again, no plastic bags will be accepted. The start dates for each zone are estimates only, based on equipment, weather, and volume. You may find updates on where the leaf crews are working on the town website and Facebook page. This process has been followed for the past few years, and the collection has gone well during those years, so the department attributes the delay this year due to the leaves falling prematurely. Mother Nature, unfortunately, throws us the occasional curveball. Zoning office, there were a total of 25 zoning applications reviewed during the month of November. Signal at 168 of the Garden State Parkway. After meetings between our police department and the engineers for the parkway and review of plans by both agencies, it was decided to not place a signal at the end of the exit ramp at this time. It could not be determined that doing so would reduce the number of incidents at the location without just moving them from the ramp to Washington Ave. Library. They are so thankful for the amazing patrons who brought their November events to new heights. Local children were treated to a variety of November events, crafts, and story times. The adult Dungeons and Dragons group, senior chair yoga classes, coloring and stitching socials, and STEM programs all saw wonderful turnouts. They were thrilled to offer a special performance by the Thunderbirds, an American Indian dance company, and hope all who attended were equally impressed with the talent displayed. A big thank you to everyone who participated in their annual Carousel Pie and Cake fundraiser, and they hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I'm happy to report that the emails sent by me and Administrator DiCarlo to the members of the council that were questioned by Councilman Ullman during the previous meetings were found not to be a violation. I would also like to point out that while he questioned our emails, he did not question the almost exact same one sent by the clerk on behalf of Council President DeSena to the council members, just like the administrator and I did, asking the council members to respond to the council president instead of me. I do not understand why that one had to be sent, but Councilman Ullman had no trouble responding to that one. I failed to see the difference except for who sent the email. Public affairs. During November, the department purchased and DPW installed holiday banners to go up and down Pascack Road. On November 16th, we hosted the first kids ornament decorating event. Residents joined us with their children to create ornaments that will be added to our town Christmas tree. Hot chocolate and assorted treats were available for the families. On November 30th, volunteers decorated the township tree at Van Saun County Park. The theme for our tree this year is Bluey. If the township wins for the best decorated tree, which I think we have a good chance of, we will be gifted a free town day where all residents can attend the Winter Wonderland event free of charge. On December 6th, we will be hosting our annual tree lighting event. This year's tree was graciously donated by Amoroso Tree Service. We will have inflatables, pony rides, crafts, performances, and much more available. Our emergency services will also be participating with food and drinks. Lastly, on December 26th, we will have the lighting of the menorah. Rabbis Dov Dreisen and Yosef Orenstein will join us for the service at 7 p.m. Thank you. That completes my report.
Thank you. Just going to do the council's report very quickly, and then we'll get to you, Mr. Bino. Just one second. Go ahead, Ms. Velez.
Okay, thank you. First off, I hope everybody had a very nice Thanksgiving, to all those who celebrated with their families and friends and neighbors. The holidays are upon us, so just be mindful. Everybody's under all different types of stress, so let's all be a little patient with one another. As the mayor, I'm going to sound a little repetitive with the mayor's report. On November 16th, I was happy to participate in the holiday ornament decorating. It was nice to see all the kids in full gear ready to take on the ornaments. Very cute to see. It was a great idea by Director Sasha Lopez. Later on in the month, I went down with a few colleagues to the League of Municipalities. It's a great opportunity to brainstorm with a lot of our municipal leaders far and wide across New Jersey. So that was a great opportunity for those of us who attended. Lots to learn and a whole bunch of vendors to make contacts with. The tree at Van Son, as the mayor said, the town has decorated the tree at Van Son in the Bluey theme. It came out very cute. If you have not seen it, make sure you stop by. And let's hope that we win, right? Who doesn't want a free ice skating in January? The ceremony will be on Saturday, December 7th. I'm sorry, they changed the date on that, sorry. December 14th. The lighting ceremony will be December 14th. And they judge that night for the town to win. I will say that a whole bunch of people have reached out and have really applauded what was done at our township tree. So we do have a really good chance. Hopefully we do win this year. And then as last but not least, I will be at the tree lighting ceremony this Friday for Township here down by the library on Finnerty Place. There will be bouncy houses, ponies, face painting, and the PBA will be collecting new unwrapped toys for those who want to bear the cold weather that is projected. So make sure you bundle up. A whole bunch of the kids from our community will be singing that night. So come and support our local vocalists. And that is my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. West. Mr. Sears?
Thank you, Council President. I would like to start off with thanking ex-Councilwoman Stacy Feeney for doing the Thanksgiving food drive for seniors that were not available. We delivered over 45 meals to seniors within the township. And she's been doing this for a couple of years now. And I want to thank ex-Councilman Feeney and the volunteers that came out to do that. On the green team, we basically completed Gardner Field for this year. We removed all the dead trees within a 20-foot clearance. We removed all of the hazardous plants. We grinded the stumps down, and we placed 40 trees, 5 to 6 foot Jolly Green Giants along the fence line. Hopefully, within a couple of years, that will give us a great wind barrier and protect the field. I'll cover Carriage Court in a second. I also, down at the league, and I met with Lisa Cranny. She is the Director for Stormwater Compliance throughout the United States. And we had an hour and a half discussion on Carriage Court, the stormwater problem that exists down there. And I got word today that Lisa is going to send her team up to review the whole waterway system along Carriage Court for us for free. So I just responded back to her. We'll have that conference call tomorrow morning, and I'll lead the council in on any other problems.
Thank you.
Also, while down in the league, I was talking to a Nathaniel Ragetti, who is the Director of Clean Energy for the state of New Jersey. After a lengthy discussion, he offered to do a free energy study for Washington Township. So I will set up the date where they will come up and do a free energy study for all the buildings in Washington Township
I know
for us.
Mr. Cummey had that done already. I believe we're still paying some of those grants. So maybe just let Mr. Rigetti know that we've previously done it
Oh, yeah, yeah, I already talked to him that, but this was what, 8 years ago, I think we had?
5 years ago?
5?
I mean,
Hey, it's free, it's for me.
yeah, but just
and-
let them know that
yeah.
a lot of the buildings, we
Yes.
did do the improvements under the grants that were available, so we're still paying those grants, I'm sure.
Okay, but like I said, they're doing it
That's
for
fine.
free, then they're gonna come in and do
I know
it for
Mr.
us.
Cumming let us, down that,
He did.
yeah.
He really did. So back on Carriage Court, when they come in and they look at the waterway system, I met with Mr. DiCarlo this morning. We went back down there. The pine trees that were planted on the berm were not the right place to put pine trees on a berm because they grow erratically. That's why we're losing so many trees down in Carriage Court. The goal will be to remove all the dead trees out of the waterway. Now, there is a particular stormwater bank that goes about 35 feet along Carriage Court. Now, there's 2 sewage drains in that. It's cluttered with trees. There's trees falling down there. If we can get that cleaned out, that will allow the water flow to continue past Carriage Court down to where the drainage is towards the swim club. The goal will be to clean that area up, remove the dead trees, flatten out the berms to protect the drainage system that's on the other side of the berm. And we're going to plant 15, what they call is Manhattan erroneous trees. They will grow within the ground, harden up the berm so the berm doesn't collapse into the waterway system. That will be the goal for, Carriage Court, if we go through it and feel that, it's something that we want to do.
Thank you.
Okay, and on the veterans status, the Qatar program is now up to 13 veterans, working with a state representative to try and get some grant money to continue this program into next year. Hopefully we could do that. It's a terrific program and a lot of vets like it. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Mr. Alden?
Just one question to Mr. Sears. You mentioned they're recommending Manhattan euonymus.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
Manhattan euonymus, the trees that they're going
Yes.
to replace. Is that a recommended tree or bush to use? Because
Yeah, it's
I
from an
have-
arborist. I got the quote from an arborist that came down with me as we went through the property.
Okay.
And he figures that is the proper tree that would be able to secure that base. Now, the goal is I'm not going to put trees all the way down there. That's not what we're here for. We're here to support that berm area where the waterway system is.
The only reason I ask is I had to remove them from my personal property because they were prone to disease. So I don't, if.
So that's good to know. I'll verify that with him.
All right.
Absolutely. All right.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Councilman Ullman.
Mr. Alden?
I really have nothing to report. I did want to, though, Councilman Sears, had forwarded an announcement on the passing of one of the members of the VFW,
Bill
Mr.
Thompson.
Thompson. And I just wanted to acknowledge that I only knew Bill, or Mr. Thompson, through sight, and passing him in a council meeting or at a public event. But I will say that, his story and the way he handled himself and presented himself, really made a lasting impression on me. He was, someone who I admired from a distance. He is someone who, when he entered a room, you knew that he was important, and I don't think he presented himself as important. He looked important. He did a lot of work with the veterans. I believe he held state level.
State and national level.
State and national level.
Am I remiss for not making that announcement? So much was on my plate.
That's fine.
Thank you,
You can only say so
Mr. Ullman,
much.
for bringing that up.
But, so I think, the town lost someone that's, an important resident, and I just wanted to acknowledge that.
Thank you, Mr. Ullman. Couple quick things on my report. Some of it's already been said. Just want to wish everybody, hope everybody had a great, happy Thanksgiving, and hopefully have an enjoyable holiday season as we kick off December. Down at the League of Municipality, I met with a few towns, and they had a couple ideas about leaves, Mr. Mayor. I know I've talked about this in the past, but one of the things that a lot of towns are doing, and I'm not proposing that we bag all our leaves, but if residents would like to bag their leaves, they get a once-a-week pickup on a Saturday morning, guaranteed if they bag them for us. That's something to look into, because a lot of towns have adopted that. And before somebody says DeSena wants everybody to bag their leaves, that is not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you don't want a leaf pile in front of your house, you bag the leaves, and on a Saturday morning, the DPW comes by and picks up all your bags of leaves. That's just something that a lot of towns are doing to help with the pickups and to give people an incentive to keep the streets clean. They also, a lot of towns, like I've talked about in past life on this council, about buying a tub grinder or getting in with somebody else's tub grinder. Again,
What does something like that go for?
well, it's a $500,000 minimum investment, and we need somewhere to put it. It's a big piece of equipment. So my condolences go out to the Thompson family. He was a very, knowledgeable man. He gave a lot of service to our country, to our town, to his family. And I just want to wish my condolences to the Thompson family. That completes my report for tonight. Mr. Buno is up next, as I promised.
Mayor, Council President, members of the council, Mr. DiCarlo, apologies, I got caught in traffic getting here this evening.
Fine.
The parking was horrendous. Quick note about those leaf bag. We have it in my town.
You have the program, if you bag them, they get picked up once a week.
But they're
Yeah.
paper, you have to specify.
In paper, yes, they have to be in paper bags. You are correct. But you have that option of if you bag them, they get picked up. If you
Yes.
don't, then they just sit there in the street. That's it.
Okay. My purpose here tonight is to discuss two grants that we're hopefully applying for. The first one is the fiscal year 2025 Bergen County Community Development Block Grant for ADA improvements to Memorial Field. I've discussed this program on other occasions. The only category that this township is eligible for based upon HUD income guidelines is our ADA improvements. So what we are proposing at Memorial Field is to put in ADA bleachers and an ADA parking spot which currently do not exist. The estimated cost for...
Well, the parking spot does exist because it was put in on the previous ADA grants.
I'm sorry, what was that?
The ADA parking does exist because we've had previous.
It has to be, it's going to be relocated.
Oh, okay, because we've gotten previous grants to put ADA parking at Memorial.
I know,
Yeah.
I wrote it.
That's up. Well, you said it doesn't exist. I'm like, wait a minute, it does exist. Okay.
My mistake, but there's going to be an additional spot and they may relocate the existing spot.
Okay.
The estimated cost is approximately $105,000. The good news, as with other CDBG grants, there's no matching funds requirement. It's a state grant, straight grant. The second resolution.
So, Mr. Bureau, I need to start. On the first one, you're saying we're going to build another handicap spot and relocate the existing handicap spot
That's correct.
and buy bleachers. These portable bleachers or these in?
No, they're going to be permanently fixed to the ground.
Where are they being permanently fixed? to the ground?
I don't have the location here, but
Baseball field side up by the school, so the two bleachers.
On the hill,
In that section there, yeah.
105,000?
No, there isn't there sidewalk, there's also 88 sidewalk.
No, I'm saying that's not enough money to build bleachers into that hillside.
No, there are two sections of bleachers, correct?
yes.
Right.
Sure.
They have to be solely for ADA individuals.
That's with the bleachers, site prep, and retaining wall. That the estimated cost is about $85,000. And then with the parking space, the new space, and relocating the additional space is about another $12,000.
What about the path to get you from that parking space to those bleachers?
There
That
will be a
doesn't
walkway
exist.
there.
What's that?
It's going to be a walkway installed also.
For 85,000?
That's with the other.
Yes. There's-
Oh, okay.
That ties into the companion grant.
Okay.
As I indicated, I like to leverage grants because you
That's
can't.
fine. I was just gonna say, you're not getting all that done for 85,000.
But,
Because if you are, we got a bunch of fields that need it. Let's get it done.
so that being the only category that we can apply for, and it's an ADA project, that was our recommendation, meeting with the business administrator and the engineer on this project. The other part of this is a companion grant, again, through the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs, the Local Recreation Improvement Grant, which we're applying for about $175,000 total.
There you go.
Okay. Though I was looking at the base cost plus the soft costs, which are covered by DCA. This would basically establish a walkways, an additional ADA ramp, landscaping, and sidewalk work. The proposed walkway would go around Memorial Field and actually link up at some point with the 450 Pascack Road property. Again, with this grant, there are no matching funds. It's a straight grant. Could be less than that. Generally, we always ask for the Cadillac. If we get the Chevrolet, we're doing pretty good on this.
Okay.
And those are the two projects that we're seeking.
Does anybody have any objection on the dais to having Mr. Bino continue with getting these grants?
So I just,
No, just,
if you could just explain again. So we have existing ADA spaces by the clubhouse or the field
Yes.
house.
You have one existing ADA parking space.
Okay. And we're proposing, we're going to put bleachers on the west side of the field, on the side of the,
yes,
Or
first base,
adjacent to
the first baseline, correct, Mr. DeCarlo?
First base, sir.
Are we doing anything with the third baseline bleachers? Because those aren't ADA either.
Well, I think we're gonna, I don't remember because I don't have the design in front of me, but I think there was a plan to keep all of it. I
Yes.
think.
and where's the, excuse me, the space going to be located, the parking space itself?
I don't have that map with me, but again, this was based upon the engineer's recommendation and the topography at the site.
I believe it was butting up to where the basketball court was. So someone could get out of their spot and immediately go to the sidewalk area that would bring it past the basketball court, past the pavilion, past the playground, up parallel to School Street, and then back, make a hard left turn towards the first baseline of the baseball field,
Okay, so,
and then go all the way around. So
But those would just be a refurbishing of the existing path, because that
Well,
path exists.
That path
you
is
remember what that
internal.
looks like. It's like.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but that path
It's
exists, it just
that.
needs to be repaved, but
Because of
it's
the
not like
Well,
it's a
we
new
want,
path. Yes.
we're recommending concrete as.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
because the tree,
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
it's
roots have
uprooted.
uplifted that
Right.
asphalt, I guess.
So then with the existing spot that butts up against the field house, if you got out of that and you were walking towards the property line of 450 Pascack Road, which Mr. Bino was talking about, I think there's a ramp there, but it really goes nowhere. So if we're
It's the
able to
ramp to
bring-
nowhere, yeah.
Yeah, if we can bring the concrete around to the perimeter side of 450 Pascack Road, it would almost complete an entire loop. That's
Okay.
what we meant to say. It wouldn't necessarily connect to 450
No,
Pascack.
take the path to nowhere
Yeah.
into something.
We can make it a complete loop.
Okay.
It's a nice design.
would we be better off looking to leverage the existing spot and build out the infrastructure by the clubhouse as opposed to just putting another spot by the basketball court and then creating a path all the way around to seating by the baseball field?
Again, I would defer to the engineer. This was his evaluation and design based upon the existing site conditions.
Are we bound to what we put in the application?
No, as long as we use the money for the intended purpose of creating the bleachers at an ADA spot, we have latitude based upon final site design and conditions to move it anywhere else we want.
So, quick question though, are you looking to connect one whole circle around the park?
Yes, that's
How-
what we're hoping for.
How wide will that be?
The sidewalk?
Just a regular sidewalk?
3 feet, 4 feet?
No, it's got to be wider than 5 feet to be ADA compliant, so it's got to be a minimum of 5 feet.
That'd be a
I don't
nice
know that.
walking path
Yeah, this is
for
a
the memorial
Yeah.
field. I like that.
I think with the application, you're not necessarily advertising a dual purpose, right? It's supposed to be.
We're not submitting a site plan for this.
Right, yeah.
It's the intended use of what we're going to do at the site. So again, based upon final soil conditions and whatever, maybe public input, as long as we use the money for these purposes, there's no issue.
Correct.
Correct.
All right, any other comments from Mr. Vino? Thank you, Mr. Vino. Appreciate the trip.
One other thing, I'll be back here in 2 weeks for the next meeting. There's a third grant that I'm working on for the fire department, the Assistance to Firefighter Grant Program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A quick question,
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, or Mr. Sears, anybody that knows. Do we have ADA swings at that playground?
No, I've been working on that.
Because that would,
No, there's
if we
some at
have the
Clark.
path.
There's some at Clark, but don't forget, the playground is not ADA accessible yet.
Yeah, but I'm saying if we have that path, now it opens us up to
Well,
be
we
able
can
to
ultimately do an
ADA.
ADA playground there eventually, yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've been working with this company, and hopefully I can sit down with David and Mark, and we could be getting down at Clark Field. That's my goal, is to get one down there. The ground is level enough, according to the engineers. We can't have ADA coming down the hill,
No.
but if we do it from Cleveland straight in, it'll be a perfect shot. You know, we've been working on that for a couple of years now.
I think Mr. Vino, last year when this grant application came up, we submitted plans to do some ADA improvements at Clark Field, but not that we were told to retract it, but it was,
We pulled out, but again,
right.
the next round of funding, that's a great project.
Yeah.
The ADA playground equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like you said, based on our town's demographics, that's really all we apply for or can apply for with these grants. And
All the other
so,
categories.
We don't qualify.
Right.
Improvements of facilities.
yeah, so,
You're fortunate you have a
Yeah,
good economic
yeah, yes,
condition
we
as
are.
a municipality, but
Yeah.
in terms of the HUD minimum and low income guidelines, you don't meet that criteria.
Correct.
and so that was my thinking, Daisy, was get the park ADA compatible so people can get to the playground and then do the playground equipment
Yeah.
next year.
And then we'll be eligible for
Right.
more
Right,
grants.
correct.
There's even a playground grant we can talk about later.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay, thank you, David.
the goal is to get it in there. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Vino. Motion to open the public comment period of the meeting. Do I have a motion?
We have,
What's that?
Mr. Burgess?
Mr. Burgess is not, he's on conference agenda.
oh, okay.
Motion to open the public comment period of the meeting?
So move.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Would anybody like to come up and address the council? Yes, Mr. Schley.
David Snide, 91 Windsor Circle. Want to wish everybody happy holidays and good health in the new year. That's the most important. And that we all get along well. That's the other part.
Daisy, can you turn on your microphone?
It is.
Okay.
I guess I could address this to Councilman Sears. One of the questions that I have as I was watching the film last week from the meeting, you mentioned about the canopy in town, because a lot of trees were cut down by residents that shouldn't have been cut down, and not having a proper canopy in the town can affect a lot of different scenarios. My question is are we able to get any monies from whoever to be able to plant more than just a small tree can we get tall trees, or can we get some tall trees to be able to be implemented on the canopy?
If I may.
Go ahead.
Oh, I did have a meeting down at the league with Sustainable New Jersey, who gave me certain leads, farmers and planters that we can talk to about getting a reduced rate to buy certain 4 to 5 foot trees that might help us to put our canopy back. I'll probably be working on that in the next couple of weeks, right after I finish these other projects.
But Mr. Schneid, one thing to remember is we don't plant trees along
Right.
the public right of way.
We can offer
we
them.
can't- We can offer trees to residents.
Yeah.
We can't force residents to plant trees.
Right.
So when
Right.
I was down, I spoke to a bunch of gentlemen down at the League of Municipalities about the tree canopy also. And so one of the problems Washington Township, according to the PSC and G arborists that have been, cutting down the trees, on private property that are leaning over the power lines, Washington Township has a bit of an issue because when our town was developed, we had the forethought to keep the trees up as we developed the town. So a lot of our oaks are 100 years old. Oaks don't live past 110 to 115 years old. So when you say people are taking down oaks because they're taking them down, well, the trees are very, they're centenarians, and they're at their prime, past their prime. They're at their real prime. And so when you say like people are just taking down trees for taking down trees, it's not the case. A lot of these oaks are at the end of their lives. And it's a problem because we don't have a mechanism to say, hey, you took down 200-year-old oaks, put something back up. Some people do, like I put back these beautiful birch trees my wife picked, and I love them. But a lot of people cut them down and don't put anything back, because there's nothing that says we have to do that.
If I may.
Yeah, Mr. Sears. So I know the arborists have probably told you the same thing.
Multiple times
Yeah, that our tree canopy is old, and that's
Yeah.
one of the issues we're
a
facing.
problem.
It's a
Yeah.
big problem because when the township was developed after World War II, they had the foresight to say, hey, let's not just clear cut the land. Let's leave these trees around the houses, just cut down what we need to put our foundations in and our houses in. And that's why these trees are so adults. They're massive, mature trees, but it's also a problem because now they're at the end of their lives.
Yeah. So we do have some things to checks and balance about people taking trees down. Mr. I can't say his last name, but his first name, who's in the building department, the official down there is on top of every tree that's within the township. I do get multiple calls from residents that I refer to him to go out and see. We did institute some ordinances that each company must register within the township,
I saw that on the site.
which it works 100%.
Yep.
We've forced them to come and get a tree permit. Not everybody does it, and I agree with you. You can tell on a Saturday when all the trucks come in, and you can hear the chainsaws going. And luckily, we have a lot of residents now that will make a call,
Yep.
and I will refer the call to the building official who is really on top of this. But even if we put 10% back, it would help the community a lot. Again, working on the trees, we have a policy that, we don't own any trees except on our property. But to offer somebody a 4 foot or 5 foot type of tree that's recommended by the state, that's not going to grow 40, 50 feet, it'll stay below the electrical, it works just as good as a big oak.
Correct.
And you're right, we are at the end of our oak. As you know, the ash trees, they're all dead. They've been infested, and you don't see a lot of ash trees alive anymore in the state of New Jersey.
Did we lose a lot of trees with the, what was that, the bug, the butterfly?
Japanese beetle, the fly,
The lantern
Lantern
fly.
fly.
No, I
Did
don't
we
think we
lose a lot of?
we lost a lot of pines where they got infested,
Yeah.
I mean, you can tell pine trees when they're all black straight down.
Yep.
That they're all infested, and their life is just about gone.
Yep.
I'll appreciate all the work you have done on this.
I mean,
and-
thank the council for passing the
Council.
ordinances to You know, we just got to get people to plant.
Yes.
That's the most important thing.
Well, sir,
David.
so in case you didn't know, the last year I worked with Mr. DeCarlo and the mayor to have our holiday tree be a natural one donated by Amoroso, and they planted it at Clark Field. So this year the tree was donated once again. So we're working towards at least adding a tree every year. So we are
Are we planting it at municipal?
We're
Hall?
about 50 years
So,
behind.
well, hey, listen, you gotta start somewhere. You gotta start
Are we
somewhere,
planting it
but,
here this year or no?
no, it stays in the ball in
If I'm
front of
saying,
town
but
hall.
can we plant it here so we have a real
No,
tree?
because then how are we gonna get one donated every year and keep adding, right? So we are, I mean, listen, you gotta start somewhere. It's not a 3-footer, it's what, 14 feet
Yeah.
about, give or take. So listen, take what you can get and keep adding to the trees.
Yep.
We don't have a lot of room for the canopy
Because we're
because
cutting so many down there.
Yeah.
there's so many that,
And the biggest part is within this section of the town is where we're losing.
and they were just
majority.
saying in Manhattan the other day, every street is different. The canopies are a problem because people have cut down certain trees and they got to replant them, and it's a problem.
Yeah.
That was my main thing, and just wishing everybody good holiday and
You too,
hopefully
Mr. Shah.
we're good health in the new year.
You
I'm
too.
glad to see more than one person
Well, glad
showed
to
up
see you
today.
back.
I'm back. I'm back.
Thank you. Have a
I'm
good day.
trying. Thank you.
Would anybody else like? Seeing nobody here, motion to close the public portion of the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ordinance, introduction, first reading, ordinance number 24-20, an ordinance of the Township of Washington, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey to amend the code of the Township of Washington by amending Chapter 574 entitled Stormwater Management in compliance with the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, NJDEP, Municipal Stormwater Regulation Program, and the New Jersey Stormwater Management Rule, NJAC 7:8. Motion to introduce and pass ordinance number 24-20 at first reading by title. Do I have a motion?
So move.
I'll second it. Roll call?
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Oman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President DeSenza.
Yes. Resolution number 24-361, authorized publication of ordinance number 24-20 and schedule a public hearing. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Okay, roll call?
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Oman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President DeSenza.
Yes. Resolution number 24-362, authorized 2024 transfer of appropriations, $35,700. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Oman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President DeSenza.
Yes. Resolutions consent agenda. The following items have been determined to have the unanimous consent of the council and will be enacted in one motion. Should any item require independent consideration, any council member may have such item removed from the consent agenda. Would anybody like anything removed at this time?
Yes, please.
What would that be, Mr. Alman?
367, 368, and 370.
Any others? 367, 368, 370. Okay. Resolution 24-363, authorization to file 2025 Bergen County Community Development Block Grant application for ADA improvements of the Memorial Field Complex in the amount of approximately $105,000. Resolution number 24-364, authorization to file fiscal year 25 local recreation improvement grant application for design and planning of recreational improvements at the Memorial Field Complex in the amount of approximately $175,000. Resolution number 24-365, authorized refund of an overpayment of Q3 2024 property taxes to CoreLogic, Block 3103, Lot 2501, in the amount not to exceed $1,113. Resolution number 24-366, authorized refund of an overpayment of 2024 property taxes to CoreLogic for various properties in the amount not to exceed $12,309.16. Resolution number 24-369, Authorize submission of NJDEP Hazardous Discharge Site Remediation Fund Grant application for investigation and remediation of 464 Ridgewood Boulevard North, Block 2301, Lot 1. That is the swim club, correct, Mr. DeCarlo?
Yes, sir.
Resolution number 24-371, authorize disposal of fire department surplus property to the Bergen County Fire Academy. Motion to approve consent agenda resolutions as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Omen,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President DeSenza.
Yes. Resolution 24-367, authorize canceling general capital fund ordinances. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, just one question. At the last meeting, I had inquired, could we take these excess funds and understanding that they can't, or the cancel fund, understanding that they can't be applied as a prepayment because the bonds aren't structured in that manner. Can this be set up where we can reduce the amount we have to raise through taxes by this amount, by setting it up in a reserve?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Mr. Holman, could you repeat that? I couldn't.
So we're canceling some of the funded ordinances.
Okay.
And rather than having the monies, I don't know honestly where they would go, I would guess to general fund.
Capital surplus.
Can they be earmarked to pay down the long-term debt that we have that it's being sourced from?
Thank you.
And your answer to that, Mr. DeCarlo, is yes, we can?
Yes, if you look at the title of the column, reserve for payment of debt, that's the general ledger line that it would go to. And it'll be used to offset what's needed for 2025 budget.
Does that answer your question, Mr. Holman?
It does.
Roll call?
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Omen,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President DeSenza.
Yes. Resolution number 24-368, authorize towing operator services for year 2025. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it. Discussion?
Yeah, the one question I had is, do we still require these operators to provide free towing
Free towing?
for?
Township vehicle.
Township vehicles, yes.
Yes.
We do, right, Mr.
Yeah,
DeCarlo?
it's in the ordinance, except for like the heavy duties, obviously. You know, they're not going to do a free heavy duty if it's like a garbage truck or whatever, but I forget the way it's written, but yes, it's in the ordinance.
So I don't know why we require this type of vendor to provide a free service when we don't require any other vendors to provide a free service. And, you know, I would propose that we amend the ordinance to eliminate that.
I was just going to.
Wait, you'd like to
That's
get,
something the council.
you'd like to amend the ordinance to say we don't get free services?
Correct.
Why is that?
I don't understand why we are forcing a vendor to provide. a
Because
free
we're
service.
forcing the residents to use that vendor, so they have a,
No, we're requiring, these are approved vendors
yeah.
that if there is a need for a tow service and the police call them out, they go through this list and they're called out.
Yeah,
And I'm assuming there is a fee for that for if it's a non-municipal vehicle.
yeah.
So why, if it's a municipal vehicle, are we asking them to donate their services? Do we ask Amoroso to cut down some of our trees for free? Do we ask, XYZ to?
I see it, but I think most contracts are written this way,
We
aren't
had this conversation.
they? Not with us. Mike and I weren't involved in the last resolution that was done on this. but is there any?
We had this.
This is a specific statutory scheme where the New Jersey statutes authorize municipalities to pass ordinances specifically for this purpose that allow for special types of provisions like that, as well as other. It's a unique service, it's a unique circumstance authorized by statute. So I don't know that you can compare, I don't think it's apples to apples.
Well,
Talk about this service and then the other, this is a specific
Well, it's-
statutorily authorized.
It's statutorily authorized. It doesn't mean that it's correct. It doesn't mean that it's, it doesn't mean you can't compare this service to another service just because the state hasn't deemed it to be that way.
I think it is treated differently, and there are different purposes. I can't answer that specifically. I can look at it and maybe give a better explanation of that. But there are certain things within the New Jersey statutes that are treated differently. And another example is the New Jersey Local Public Contracts Law. They treat the supply of water service. They permit that to be awarded without bidding to, nonprofits can do that. There are policy-based reasons for treating different types of, services, events, situations differently. And statute sometimes lays that out and the reasons for that. And maybe I can take a look and give you a better answer on that. But I would think that
Is it statutorily required or is it statutorily allowed?
I don't know that the way you're framing it is that specifically authorized, allowed, or whatnot. All I'm saying is this is the type of service that is treated a little differently for the purposes laid out in the statute. And I don't know that you can compare it to different types of services. I can take a look and give you a better explanation. It's just the beginning of perhaps why you don't treat it the same way.
Because otherwise we would have to pay as a municipality. And I'm assuming that these vendors are used to dealing like this with other municipalities, so we're not any different. And if I recall, our expenses were so minimal when we reviewed this. I don't recall the numbers, but I remember.
Yeah, I wasn't on the
something-
dais for this discussion, so.
Something minimal,
Hardly anything.
yeah.
Well, 22-225 was an ordinance that amended for the fees and methods of payments for the heavy-duty vehicle recovery. That was the heavy-duty part.
Okay. But I think Mr. DeCarlo gave us a total on that, and it was something
There was a
minimal.
conversation about it, yeah.
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 Okay.
Let's look into it.
Anything else, Mr. Ullman? Roll call?
Councilman Sears?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
No.
Councilwoman Velez?
Yes.
Council President DeSena?
Yes. Resolution number 24-370, resolution supporting potential brownfield remediation at the Washington Township Swim Club, Township of Washington, Bergen County. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, just in the third paragraph, for the purpose of open space and recreational purposes, specifically installation of athletic facilities, including an athletic field, great lawn, pickleball court, dog park, and finds that realistic opportunity exists. So I know we had a presentation.
Did not include any athletic field.
Well, I don't think there was consensus that that initial presentation was going to be the end. So my question is, by putting it in this resolution, are we committing this?
Are we binding to it?
Yes.
No, I specifically asked that question foreseeing that coming up. This is just a commitment to develop it for recreational purposes. Put it blunt, they're not going to give us state money for us to fix the problem and just leave it barren. So it's just, the focus is on the commitment that we're going to develop it for
Ultimately
open
to
space
something.
recreation. The reason why that was put in there is because those were some of the ideas that were essentially talked about with Boswell Engineering.
Okay.
Can it be passive recreation? And can we
Yes,
make it?
yeah. That was set by the open space grant that we received, or the acquisition grant. So as long as it's passive, we're not bound by anything we put in there other than committing to redevelopment for open space or recreational purposes.
Okay. Thank you.
Roll call?
Councilman Sears?
Yes.
Councilman Ullman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez?
Yes.
Council President Senator?
Yes. Motion to adjourn to the conference agenda. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Next meeting of the Township Council will be on Monday, December 16th, 2024, beginning at 7 p.m. Sign up for Nixle, text 07676 to 888777, key code TWP Bergen. Can we take a 5-minute recess? I'm sorry, Mr. Burgess? We need to take a 5-minute recess, please.
Recording stopped.
Housing.
The fourth round of affordable housing is upon us. You have a certain number of responsibilities.
Can you state that number, the incredible number that Washington Township?
You have a modest affordable housing need number of 184 units.
Wow.
Now, the benefit is you previously did receive a vacant land adjustment. You are obligated, and that will carry forward for you. And I'll explain why I say that in a moment. By January 31st, the council is obligated to file a resolution with the Affordable Housing Dispute Resolution Program. From now on, I'll just call that the program. You're obligated to file a resolution indicating whether you accept their number or are going to offer an alternative to that number. Now, there's two ways to go about offering an alternative, because you are obviously going to want a reduction from the 184. One way is to simply say, we will accept your number. However, your resolution will say, we fully intend to file a vacant land adjustment and a realistic development potential number.
Closer, because you're not
I'll pick it up. Okay. Is that better?
That's
Much
better.
better.
Okay. You're obligated to file this resolution by the end of January.
And your office is preparing that resolution.
Well, we will with your township attorney.
Mr. Burgess, I'm sorry, just accept it, but request a vacant land adjustment, and what was the second?
A realistic development potential number to be determined. And you are seeking that vacant land adjustment consistent with prior rounds where you also received a vacant land adjustment.
In prior rounds.
Pardon me?
We received that in prior
Yes,
rounds, yes.
yes. Now, I am suggesting actually to all of our vacant land adjustment municipalities to take that route rather than try to go through and I brought the paperwork to one of our master plan subcommittee meetings, over 2,000 pages of background information on how to file a full, complete readjustment of the 184 unit figure. You're asking for a vacant land adjustment anyway, so why bother going through the cost and time and effort to adjust a number that you're going to ask for a vacant land adjustment for anyway?
Now, I have kind of a big question. We have a vacant land adjustment right now, right? But that is based on the developments proceeding as they are, which haven't started yet, right? We have two major developments that have not begun yet on Van Ember, correct? Would they be able to go back now and ask the special master for an increase in their unit density at those developments because they have not started construction?
In the theoretical sense, they could. One can always ask.
But those, even though those are set in stone, can the stone be rewritten? Because that's what I'm nervous about is, we go in saying, hey, we don't intend to build our 184 units because we have we have our land adjustment. We intend to build zero because we don't have any place to build them. However, we have these areas that were part of third round, one of them even second round, I believe, but they haven't been built yet.
One of the things we are going to have to do as part of the housing plan contract, now you're getting farther down the road. But when we do prepare the housing element and fair share plan, one of the things we are obligated to do is to reassess those projects that were part of your prior plan but have not yet been built and determine whether or not the use itself or the density itself continues to be appropriate. Let's assume for a moment we determine that they still represent a viable development potential at the density that we calculated, and we are going to maintain that as part of the overall planning of the municipality. Let me talk a little bit about the schedule, and then I'll tie that into what you touched upon. You file this resolution by January 31st. Now, I will tell you, you can file that resolution tomorrow if you would like. I would strongly advise against it. And we've spoken about this because the way the legislation reads, from the moment you file the document, the resolution, developers and Fair Share Housing Center will have from that date until the end of February to file an objection. Why give everybody that additional amount of time? So I would suggest to you, file it in late January. You have until January 31st.
Can we apply on January 30th? Is it an electronic submission or is it a mailed submission?
I believe it's electronic, but I will double check that for
Because if
you.
it's electronic, why wouldn't we just do it on, unless January
Well,
31st is a Sunday, which
What I
they
would
state is not.
suggest, you do it around the low mid-20s, because
The 29th.
God forbid there should be a snowstorm
You'll go
and
to
you
work.
don't meet.
You'll get to work. Come on.
Huh?
You'll get to work. Or you'll send one of your associates.
No, it's you have to come to work, because you have to come here to vote on that.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm suggesting.
So let's,
So we have Zoom for.
Yeah, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, it has to be filed within like 48 hours of the council adopting it, and so that's why it's.
Yes, you have
it ties into
48
a Council
hours.
meeting date.
Yeah, you have to file it within 48 hours. And the way the legislation reads, if you do not file it and put it on your website within 48 hours, you lose all of your immunity. Now,
really?
That's just a punitive action on the part of the legislature, but that's what happens. But in the month of February, any objector, any interested party can file an objection to your determination as to what your number.
So we have a
Should be.
January 27th meeting.
That would be ideal to do it that night.
I mean, if the council approves it tonight, which I'm sure they will, we will be meeting on January 27th, which gives you 48 hours after we meet to file it, which will be the 29th, which is close to the 31st, which is a Friday. Do you agree with that, Sean?
I'd be more comfortable with an earlier meeting, quite frankly,
Why is that?
because it's so absolute, this 48-hour time period, and it's January.
We'll lose
I'd rather
all
call a
our,
special meeting.
Yeah, we're telling most of our towns, even if they hold a special
Can
meeting
we just put a special
Around
meeting
the
date there, just
20th.
in case for the 28th? Like, we'll,
or the 25th,
yeah.
Earlier, yeah.
because then you could file it the 27th.
Well, let's let Mr. Burgess finish and then, but I'm just saying, right now, the tentative schedule was we have a January 6th meeting and a January 27th meeting.
I'm telling
So
most,
6th would give them a whole extra month, which we
yes,
do not want to
and you
do.
don't want that. So the month of February, an objector, an interested party, Fair Share Housing Center, anyone can file an objection to your plan.
Mike, we have a 21st meeting.
well, that's up for discussion. That's
Yeah.
why this, yeah, we could probably do the 21st, but that's
Okay, so
discussion.
at the end of February, beginning March 1 through March 31, supposedly the program is going to resolve all the objections filed.
Yeah, in the state of New Jersey, that's really going to happen.
Now, I will tell you that, for example, with the plans for Parsippany, in the third round, we had close to 20 objections filed to the plan.
Wow.
In Alpine, on the other hand, we had one objection. But that one objection took, and your office is involved, close to 8 years to settle.
Really?
Now, given that the program is going to resolve all these disputes in,
30
at least
days.
they picked a 31-day month, that's all I can say. My gut feeling is that's where the process is going to slow down, and that schedule that we submitted to you months ago,
We'll be out the window.
I think that's when things might slow down a little bit.
But we don't anticipate them extending the hearing, the submission date for objection. That's what I'm
correct. And
concerned.
they've already came out and said that submission dates as set forth in the legislation will be held to that. So keep that in mind. I will also say the program has reached out to all of us special masters because they would like us to assist them in the review of submissions. Now, they've never defined for us what that meant. all the special masters, we've talked about this, we think they're going to use us primarily to review or help mediate disputes after a housing plan is filed, just the same way the courts have used us. I don't think we're going to be used for the purposes of the program, just making the simple decision as to whether or not what you have selected as your number is reasonable or not. So we might not be getting involved in that first step. The planning board has until the end of June of 2025 to prepare a draft housing element and fair share plan. Again, if we miss that date, you lose all your immunity. So they really set some very difficult benchmarks. And then you have basically a year to prepare all the ordinances and other documentation.
To meet that.
Actually, it's to March, the end of March of 26, to prepare all the documentation to implement the housing plan. So that's the schedule. And those are the critical benchmarks. For January, as I started to say, you pick your date that you're comfortable with. I agree with the attorney that you don't want to pick too late a date. If there's a snowstorm and things happen, you don't want to be caught short because they said you have to adhere to those initial timelines. Okay. So we're suggesting that a reasonable date is anywhere from the 15th to the low 20s, just to be safe.
All right.
Now, we will be working with the planning board because the housing element and fair share plan is a planning board document, not a council document. Right. We will be working with the planning board to prepare what's called a vacant land adjustment. Actually, as part of the master plan work we're doing, we've prepared a lot of the base information for that. The one complicating factor is the fact that the 184 unit figure is really composed of three different components. One is what they call an income derivation factor. There's a non-residential development factor, and then there's what's called my mind just went blank, a vacant land factor. Now, we have already started this work for some municipalities. The mapping from DCA just came out a little over a week ago. But in a couple instances that we've already looked at, it's that third factor that's where you can really...
The vacant land factor.
Yeah, fight the fight. The other two factors are very census-driven. So unless they made a mathematical error...
It's hard to...
Yeah, it's hard to fight those things. But on the vacant land adjustment factor, a vacant analysis factor, what they've done is use 2020 aerials for some reason. They're 4-year-old aerials. And in a number of instances, we have found that while their mapping shows sites that are vacant,
they're already developed. They
are now being developed. In fact, in Saddle River, as an example, there's a 110 unit 100% affordable project at East Allendale and Route 17. You might have seen it. It's under construction now. That's shown on their maps as vacant. Now, what that means is that Saddle River was hit with a affordable housing number from the vacant site for the third round, and now it's being counted again for the fourth round. So they're counting one site for 2 times for the town's obligation. We have found that in that town. We have found it in Allendale. We found it in West Windsor a lot, and East Windsor as well. So it seems to be a fairly common occurrence. So one of the things we're going to have to do immediately is look at your vacant land aerials that they used to find out if any sites are being counted twice. Because that we would also put in the resolution to identify the fact that we're not fighting the formula and how you verify, but we're fighting the base information that they have used because it's incorrect. Oddly enough, the legislation doesn't technically account for their errors in their database, but everybody's saying the same thing. It's not that I'm the only one that's come up with this. We're all arguing that same point. If your base information is incorrect, it deserves to be corrected. You're in a better position than most when it comes to rehab, because there's also a rehabilitation component to your obligation. Your number is 0. Now, Allendale, under the third round, their number was 21. And inexplicably, that number now for the fourth round is 159. Now, I'm sure you know a little bit about Allendale. It's right nearby. I can't imagine what's taking place in Allendale that would jump up that number so much. Saddle River went from a 4-unit rehab under the third round to a 78-unit rehab in the fourth round. Why this kind of error needs correction is because the requirements in the legislation are that you have to set aside the equivalent of $20,000 per unit for 1/3 of your rehab obligation up front. So let's make the numbers easier for, let's see, in Saddle River, if that, let's say there was a 90-unit obligation, they would have to provide $20,000 per unit for 30 units.
Wow.
Meaning they're setting aside $600,000 out of their budget
For rehab that doesn't exist.
that clearly doesn't exist.
Mike, can I ask some questions?
Yeah.
When can you get that copy of the 2020 area view of the township? Is it relatively easy for us to look at?
We have it, we have it for the whole state right now.
Right.
So we just had to pull out your mapping.
Right.
And we've already done the vacant land
For the master plan
assessment
readout.
from the map
Right.
that we did for the master plan.
Yeah.
So
we
you have it done already.
we have it easily,
Okay.
easy to look at.
So, I mean, one of the, just to put it into perspective, it's not 186 units.
No.
It's 980
Yeah.
units. Because 186 only represents 20% of what they expect us to build.
Yeah.
So they want us to increase our ratables in this town by 1,000. So they want us to go from 3,300 units in town to 4,300 units in town. Where are we fitting 1,000 more structures in this town is unrealistic, unimaginable. And that's the real, so when you hear 186, it's not 186. That's only 20% of what they, so in order to get the 186, you got to build, 800 and something more.
5 per unit or something like that?
And all the children
Yeah.
that come, so
You need another school at
you
that
think
point.
school taxes are high now?
Let's recognize that under the prior round, your number was something like 259. And at the time it was determined, I think you had an 11-unit RDP. From the vacant land adjustment,
Yeah.
realistic development potential is RDP. So presumably, we'll have that same kind of
You hope.
reduction. Well-
It's scary.
Yes, but the components of the vacant land adjustment, you look at vacant land, you subtract out all environmentally constrained sections of any vacant lot, and you have to look at redevelopment potential. Now, knowing Washington Township, as we all know it, there's not a heck of a lot of redevelopment activity. It's not like Hackensack where they're redeveloping everything in sight. So that's not going to add to much. And you only look at the difference that's occurred in vacant land from the end of the third round to today. And so there hasn't been much tear downs and left as vacant lots in town either.
Not left.
So the number, the vacant land adjustment number should really be very small for us here.
So down at the League of Municipality, I had a discussion. What could we do to, and the planners down there didn't have an answer, but you're a smarter planner than them, I think, Mr. Burgess. So I'm
No
going
pressure.
to toot your horn a little bit.
I want that in the
Yeah,
transcript.
so one of the questions I asked, and I was told it was a good question, but they don't know how to solve it, is, let's just say, how do we take the new master plan that you're writing right now and fortify it to stop, let's just say, the commercial districts from trying to rezone those commercial districts and redevelop them into something else other than commercial districts? Sort of like what's going, like you just said, Hackensack is doing it every day, right? We take the commercial districts and we add 5 stories on top of them, and now we have 5 stories of 20% being affordable housing, the other being high rents. But what happens then is that becomes, you could build a whole new town in one commercial development because you could put 1,000 units in that commercial. So is there a way in our master plan to do it before it happens, like kind of limit that somehow?
We have that type of discussion on for closed. I think the purpose of Mr. Burgess right
Okay.
now is to just give us a schedule, and
Okay.
I think we should explore that in closed.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Because these are my,
It's
it's keeping me up at night thinking of what this town, our little small township could become if this
It's an
comes to-
understandable question. I will point out that you're not under an obligation to do inclusionary development. As I just mentioned earlier, Saddle River, that project of 110 units, that's 100% affordable project because Saddle River decided they did not want to see 5 times the number. So they said, we're going to cut out all the market rate units by doing
one
large
development.
100% project.
Okay.
So, that's an option, and, that they're using a company that does large scale 100% projects. They are few and far between. Most of them are doing smaller projects, but your number is going to be small.
Okay.
So it's
Thank
something
you.
for you to
All right.
think about. So we had submitted to you back in October, I think, our standard housing plan contract. You're in a good position, I must say, because the price reflected the fact that we're doing a lot of the work that needs doing for the housing plan. We're already doing it for the master plan, so we're not duplicating efforts for you. We recognize that. We haven't received it back yet, but we should get that back soon so we can really begin the work for you.
Mr. DeCarlo, you know where that is?
I'm sorry?
Do you know where that document is and when we should get it on the agenda?
I could forward it back to you tomorrow.
What document is it?
Contract?
The housing
contract.
element contract.
You got me. I know we created a purchase order for you to do that work, but I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, let me send that to you again. It was
Okay.
back in early October that it was first sent.
Council's not seen it yet, that I remember. Does anybody on the dais remember that? 'Cause I don't.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I think that was the meeting that you came in.
Yes.
Yeah.
You had
Yeah, but we approved it that night.
that
we-
was.
Oh, well, I'm glad to hear that, but we haven't
Right, we
received
approved
it.
it, right?
Did somebody tell us
Yes.
that?
We approved it.
No,
It's
no,
probably sitting on somebody's desk, we just gotta get it off somebody's desk.
I think,
Yeah, because after that meeting, we approved the, yeah.
Council President, I think we should be looking at a January date. We should come up with a decision on having a special meeting.
Well, we will, because there's.
There's a meeting scheduled
Yeah, it's
coming up
on
on the
there,
agenda.
coming up, yeah.
I do recall, one of the big factors was that if we miss any deadlines.
Yes,
we're gonna
absolutely.
be
That was the
in
last
trouble.
part. You weren't here, Mr. Burgess. You were in France. Your
Your
associate was here.
associate came, that's correct.
That's what it was. That's why we don't remember you being, but your associate was here because you were in France.
Okay, don't say that as a negative.
No, it's a good thing. I'm jealous of you. That's why I'm saying it that way.
Council President, can I ask?
Yes, Mr.
Mr. Burgess, can you briefly tell or explain to the council our need for the municipal housing liaison that we have to appoint by resolution?
You need to speak up, Mr. DeCarlo, please. I'm sorry.
Can you briefly explain to the council the need for the municipal housing liaison?
Within the legislation, every municipality has to appoint someone. It has to be a borough employee who is going to stand watch over some of the, like, the day-to-day stuff in terms of who's going to file the documents for you. They will do the reporting to the program in terms of when an affordable housing project is proposed, when a CO, when it gets site plan approval, when it gets a certificate of occupancy. They would also be responsible for filing the, there's not always quarterly reports, but various monitoring reports. Now, we typically work with the liaison in that regard, but it's through that individual that has to file it with the program.
So, Council President, we'll be bringing forth that resolution in the next meeting.
Okay.
Thank you,
Do you know
Mr.
who that person is, Mr. DeCarlo?
I do.
Is it yourself?
No. Considering how caught off guard I was with your last question, I don't think it should be me.
Mr. Burgess, just one
last
question, and I don't know if it should be directed to you or to Ms. Bailey, but at the last planning board meeting, and it's something you mentioned earlier in response to one of the questions about the ability of sort of settled applications, and do they have the ability to come back and, you know, litigate or review their
numbers.
Their numbers, excuse me. So Franklin Court, which is one of the developments, they came to the planning board for an extension of their approval by a year. And I asked that specific question, if by offering this extension, we open the door for relitigating that. And
Mr. Allman?
Yes.
Can we hold off on your questioning till we're going to be discussing different rounds of fourth in closed session tonight? And I would just advise that you hold your question till close, please.
So it's closed for council, but it's open for planning? That's fine.
That's what Mrs. Bailey just advised me, so if you don't, yeah.
I'm not aware what's happening at the planning board, but right now the township is involved in litigation involving this precise legislation. We're also embarking upon getting into what is a proposed transaction, you know, in connection with this whole process. So these specific questions should be enclosed for this case.
Okay.
So maybe, Mr. Mayor, can we talk to the planning board attorney and invite, maybe Miss Bailey and him should talk just to make sure if we can coordinate that?
He basically said that Ms. Bailey is the attorney representing the township on this. So
Okay.
he gave an opinion, but it was not 100%, and which is why I'm bringing it up this evening. So I'll wait for the closed
thank you.
session.
Anything else, Mr. Burgess, at this time?
No, I think that gives you a pretty good sense of what we have to do over
So
the
you-
next few months.
You don't think Burgess has an issue with meeting the mandatory dates, the January 31st
no.
date and the June date? You don't
No.
have any issue?
Not
Based
at all.
on the approvals we've given you, and once you get back to the office, we'll figure out where that contract is.
Yeah, I'll make sure Mark has that tomorrow morning.
Thank you. All right. You're going to stick around. You can just sit there if you don't mind, unless you want to go make a call, but you're going to be
No,
on
I'm
in a
fine.
few minutes. DPW building and site. So in our packet tonight, we got some reference numbers from, I guess, Mr. Beckmeyer and Mr. DeCarlo. The $816,000 additional, plus another $75,000 for a total of almost $900,000 for the site work and the engineering costs.
Yes, essentially.
So that would be added to Mr. Iovino's 4.17 million, so we're back up to 5 million with a $400,000 contingency, so we're at almost 5.5 million.
Well, no, I don't want to do that, but I also don't want to speak in front of the mayor if you were planning on.
No, I mean, go right ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
To consider part of the $815,900, it's very important to note that $200,000 of it is for a salt shed, so bringing us back down to $615,900. And even before we get any further, I did not receive any questions from the council, just to let you know, on the design of the building. We were also hoping that we could have a decision on that tonight if guys and girls agreed with the full 2-story, 3 garage bay.
I was gonna ask that, since Dr. Cassio is not here tonight, though, I just want to have a full council here to make that decision at the next meeting. I know it gives us an extra week and a half, but I just want to make sure we have a full council vote on it.
Okay. In speaking with Glenn Beckmeyer Jr. and his.
Mark, can I jump in?
Yeah.
At the end of this, I'd like the council to take a straw poll so we know where the 4 of you stand on it.
I'm willing, I'd like to do that as well.
All right. Well, I guess we could. We'll see.
This is, we understood the assignment from council, and it was to try and come up with an all-encompassing cost estimate for the site. So in speaking with Mr. Beckmeyer and Beckmeyer Jr., it would only get better from here. So they tried to think of everything that would have a cost associated with it. If you look, the emergency exit and walkway, that's a whole, is that okay, this guys? I'll use a different one.
Yeah,
Is it?
okay.
For example, their retaining wall, I know, is going to be, required regardless of what design you guys and girls choose. However, the temporary fencing might be provided by the contractor that wins the bid award for the actual building itself. So, we explained to him how we understood our assignment and to make sure they thought of everything. And we went back to the drawing board a couple times. So we wanted to make sure that that number was all encompassing. We thought the total estimated engineering costs was very reasonable, and that's only considering if we want constant on-site observation estimated at an 11-week project, 8 hours a day. I don't know if something like that is required or not. So the actual engineering services for the site work plans, the bid documents, et cetera, were $30,000. If you go to page 2, in Mr. Iavino's site estimate, he allowed $300,000. So really, the garage structure is coming in at 3.3 million, rounded up. There's the contingency of 10%, escalation is 6%. So you'd have to back out that 300,000. So potentially, yes, a 4.0 or $4.1 million. But again, we asked them to think of everything they could think of that would have a cost associated with it. So we're hoping that's the worst case number. Yes, sir.
Mr. DiCarlo, could you please explain an oil water separator? Are we planning to store recyclable oil on premise, or
No.
what is the purpose
It's a
of it?
vehicle garage. It needs to have an oil water separator. We can't flush oil down into the sanitary system.
Well, that's what I mean, we'll be storing oil.
Doesn't matter if we're storing it or not.
Even
we
if
have
it comes
vehicles.
off the vehicles, to
Yeah,
make
just
sure it doesn't enter the
an engine-
stormwater
Even if you have
system.
an engine leak,
Yeah.
that is dripping oil, and
Right.
you wash the floor down, it's got to be separated. You can't
Okay.
put it into the sanitary or storm system.
Thank you.
It's common practice, for a garage with floor drains to have that. It's a required, not a, yes, it does. It better. Mr. DiCarlo, I know you're gonna want to shoot me on this, and I know you've asked me, but I've had a lot of residents just say, can we reach out to, you know what I'm gonna say? They're gonna be very
Actually, I
upset.
don't.
Can we get a metal building price just for this building really, very quickly before the next meeting?
For the three bay
story.
full 2-story?
Yep. From a metal building manufacturer. Just a cost opinion of what it would cost. I had a lot of, I've been fielding calls and the emails, and people are asking, what is the cost differential? And I know in my past life, it was usually about like a 25%, 30% cost differential between a block and brick building versus a metal building. So just, I know you asked me not to give you this assignment a couple months ago, and
I know, I mean, respectfully, we did it 2 or 3 times before. I can't imagine it's going to be any different of an answer, but
Yeah,
we
and
just-
and Mike, we'll be happy to do it, but from your experience, what life expectancy does a steel building have versus a brick and mortar?
it's all depending on the maintenance of it.
Okay,
I've seen them last 50 years, I've seen them last 10 years.
Okay.
Just depend- Yeah, so.
but even brick and mortar?
No, well, again, brick and mortar, with, built incorrectly at the beginning and leaking is
Yeah.
just as bad as,
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Oh, the line softball. Oh, the line softball.
Let's,
He's gonna move on.
leaf pickup was already discussed.
Can you do the straw poll before we move on to from the topic?
Sure, Ms. Velez,
Yes.
Mr. Sears,
Yes.
Mr. Ullman,
Yes.
I would probably vote yes.
Thank you, appreciate that. Just to give us a little direction, even though it's not official.
Very quickly, on miscellaneous, we have leaf pickup, which we discussed already, the 2025 meeting schedule. So very quickly, I know I am not council president in 2025, but I worked with Ms. Witkowski. She put a lot of time into this. So really, the only change we had versus this year's was we were trying not to be here on January 21st, because it is not a town holiday, but it is a federal holiday. And what happened to my schedule? What just happened?
January 21st?
February, January
20th.
January 20th. That's what-
Oh,
Martin
okay.
Luther King
Oh,
Day.
yes,
You're not off, it's not an
Yeah,
official holiday.
I don't know what happened.
Yes,
We
I,
had it
So
last year.
last year, and it's
but
been,
under the circumstances-
so under the circumstances, I guess the only revision I would like to put back, I tried to avoid it, we moved it to the 27th, is to make the 20th meeting like we've always had on Martin Luther King Day, so we can come in, do Mr. Burgess's resolution, and that'll give us plenty of time for him to submit it and be ahead of the 31st deadline,
why can't we do it the 21st?
because there's a zoning board meeting that night.
So I'll agree to that because the time frame.
Yeah, so the problem is if we don't stay on our normal week, somebody else has the room that night. So
Understood.
that's why I moved it to the following, I asked Sue to
We
move
tried,
it. We tried. We made it to the
really did.
27th. So if Mr. Burgess is okay leaving it at the 27th and Miss Bailey's okay leaving it at the 27th, I'm okay then, like we did our job, but they're saying no. give
Yeah,
us a week.
I hear a lot of knees rattling on the
Yeah.
20th. No, I mean, I don't have a problem with the 20th. We're not going to be here that.
Yeah, we won't be here that long,
Well, no,
so.
it's gonna be a regular meeting.
Yeah, but
It's
it
gonna be a
shouldn't be
regular
much on the
meeting.
agenda because
Well, listen, we could do that too.
we're not going to put much on the agenda that night, that's all.
Yeah, we'll do most of it on the reorg meeting.
So we
And
look, so
you know
basically.
what, you just jinxed us.
I know, I did.
You just jinxed
Shoot,
us.
I never talk about time at a meeting, I know.
No.
So the only, based on the fourth round thing is to move the January 27th meeting back to January 20th. All the other meetings, we checked all the holidays, which Sue provided in the packet. So we clear all the holidays the way it is right now, except for Martin Luther King Day on the 20th. Everybody okay with that? We still got time before the next meeting to adopt the calendar. So if anybody sees something we're missing tonight, just let us know.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's know.
My
please.
birthday.
All right.
Stop.
And the Sindai meeting, Sue, that's on you,
Well, in the past, we've done it at the same day as the reorg meeting.
which is the 6th, right?
Right, but you know what, then it's open, well, that's the old business, so I don't even know, I can work with administration to find out if there is a need even to have, even if it's a special meeting for 5 minutes on a Zoom call at the end of the month to pay anything outstanding. If something comes up, but
In December, you mean? Or-
Well, there's no council change other than the president.
No, so it's-
It's not like we have different councils like
No,
this
yeah,
year,
council,
where
right.
it was a problem because we're voting on stuff we had no
But
business
if there's
voting
any
on.
outstanding bills that
Yeah.
absolutely have to be paid and cannot wait until the reorg meeting January 6th, but I can work with the mayor and the administrator to find out if something like that comes up, okay? Is that all right down at the other end? Hello?
Always happy to work.
This way, then we don't have to do, some towns don't even do a sign die because there is no business that have to be taken care of, but if something does come up, just 48-hour special meeting notice and we do it.
Okay, two very quick things. We had two residents reach out to us in the last few days. One is about possibly limiting Sunday leaf blowing to none, only using a battery-operated leaf blower, which makes just as much noise. But if the council would like to bring that up at the next meeting, please advise Ms. Wachowski. The second one is about overnight parking. I guess, Mr. Mayor, is it all right if I reach out to the chief to discuss the emails I've gotten from a bunch of residents about overnight parking? I can include you on the call also. If you don't
Yes, I
mind.
appreciate that, yeah.
All right, but you don't have a problem if I reach out and set something up and
No.
make sure we're all available?
Thank you for checking.
All right. Okay. Motion to go into closed session, resolution number 24-372, fourth round affordable housing, proposed transaction of Memorial Fields. The Township Council anticipates not coming back from closed session at this time. Do I have a motion to enter into closed session?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I got the sign for the door.